Good evening, it's time for the news right here on Times Television, TTV, and you're with me, Ronald Mpaso. First, the headlines. Malawi Electoral Commission to start consultations on the review of wards and constituency boundaries. A local organization, Millennium Information and Resources Center, has questioned the continued existence of Zodiak refugee camp in Doha. And education activists worried over education standards after only 2 students scooped 6 points in the recently released MSCE examination results. We have these and other stories. Stay with us. In our first story, Malawi Electoral Commission says it will tomorrow start consultations with political parties to consider a review of ward and constituency boundaries. The redemarcation of ward and constituency boundaries has been a topical issue for a long time, with some legislators and councillors complaining that their areas are too big for single councillors or MPs. Jameson Chaluka with a report.
A statement signed by MEC Chief Elections Officer Samuel Fandika says the exercise will be completed on April 16. According to MEC, the exercise should be done every 5 years, but it was last done in 1998. The Commission says they also have plans to engage various stakeholders like Parliament, civil society organizations, academia, development partners, among others. The demarcation of ward and constituency boundaries has been a topical issue for a long time, with some members of Parliament and councillors openly complaining that their areas are too big for a single councillor or MP.
Malawi Congress Party has announced that it will hold elections for regional chairperson for the North-South region on the 18th of this month. The party's director of elections, Lazarus Chakwera, told Times yesterday that all is set for the elections, saying the party has opened a campaign window for candidates that are interested to compete for the position. Sam Kalimira has a report.
Chakwera asked candidates to refrain from hate language and dishing out money to buy votes, as this would result into unfair election. He said such tendencies have the potential to breed violence, which is not acceptable in MCP.
The elections are going to be free and fair, we believe, because only the people that are supposed to elect candidates will be allowed, and also that we're going to be using secret ballots to allow candidates to make choices of the people that they want.
According to the party's constitution, eligible voters are 9 people from district committees, chairperson of 3 bodies at constituency level, or councillors and members of parliament from the region in question. Meanwhile, 4 people have shown interest to compete for the position. These are Member of Parliament for Nzimba South, Emmanuel Chambulanyi Jere, Mzuzu City District Chairman Joseph Chavula, Youth Member Kelvin Sato, and the current Acting Regional Chairman Godwin Mvula. Their position was being held by Gracia Soko, who was fired by the party due to pressure by district chairmen and other party members over poor leadership. The elections are expected to be held at the party's regional offices in Mzuzu.
A local non-government organization, Millennium Information and Resources Center, has asked the government and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees to explain the existence of Zodiak refugee camp in Doha district. The organization's director, Flywell Somanje, says the United Nations High Commission for Refugees is building permanent houses at the camp, and this
citizens, as they scramble for natural resources, But now you could see this UNHCR is trying its best to build permanent houses for these refugees. So if the refugees are here in just temporary as a refugee, so that whenever the war is over in their countries, they are supposed to go back.
The United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, says government through the Ministry of Homeland Security is the administrator of refugees camps in Malawi. Therefore, it was in a better position to comment on the issue. Spokesperson in the Ministry of Homeland Security, Andrew Nyondo, says Zareka has never expanded since inception in 1994. The size of the land has remained the allocated 201 hectares. Nyondo says what is being done to address the congestion is reallocation of land meant for agricultural activities for shelter to meet the housing demand. Meanwhile, government has been pushing on increased cases for resettlement and voluntary return of refugees.
It has been revealed that only 2 students have scored 6 points in the recently released Malawi School Certificate of Education MSCE examinations. Malawi National Examinations Board, MANEB, acting Executive Secretary Dorothy Nampota, has confirmed the development. Executive Director for the Civil Society Education Coalition, Benedicto Kondowe, has described this as an indication that education standards in government schools continue to plummet. More in this report read by Justin Mkweu.
The 2 students are from the Catholic-run Likuni Boys Secondary School and private-owned Maranatha Academy. Executive Director for the Civil Society Education Coalition, Benedicto Kondowe, says this makes it evident that education standards in government schools continue going down. He added that the few number of students with 6 points, the highest grade in the examination, however, reflects that overall the quality of examinations is improving, adding that the past results were cosmetic.
When we are talking about quality of education, it is not just a product of how many students get 6. It is, for me, it is actually the level of comprehension and the ability of the learners to get what they deserve it. You can have maybe 200 students getting 6 points, but if those 6 points are not a product of their own work, then for me it wouldn't give a proper outlook of a quality education system.
In the just released MSCE examination results, out of 138, 310 students who sat for the examination, 57,293 passed. Speaking during the announcement of the figures, Education Minister Agnes Nyalonje acknowledged that MSCE results will continue to reflect cumulative gross underinvestment in the education sector, which cannot be rectified overnight. She, however, expressed hope that this will be addressed through the 250 USAID-funded secondary schools, 300 from World Bank and 32 from European Union. In 2019, only a single student scored 6 points in MSCE examinations, while in the preceding year, there was no student with 6 points.
Teachers Union of Malawi has announced the resumption of a nationwide strike following failure by the government to resolve teachers' grievances. The resumption of the strike follows the expiry of a 7-day notice given to the government following a decision by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 to turn down the proposal to convert money meant for personal protective equipment into cash to be paid to the teachers. Taonga Sabola has a report.
Teachers Union of Malawi President William Malimba told Times on Monday morning that the government has demonstrated that it does not have the welfare of the teachers at heart. He said since March 24, when Tumu wrote the Secretary for Education and Secretary for Local Government informing them that all teachers in primary, secondary and teachers training colleges would resume an industrial strike in form of a stay away, there has been no word from government on the matter. Malimba has since called on all teachers in government primary, secondary, as well as teachers training colleges not to go to work on Tuesday. But Civil Society Education Coalition Executive Director Benedicto Kondowe on Monday blamed the prolonged standoff between the teachers and government to lack of an honest dialogue between the two groups. Kondowe said at the end of the day, learners will be the ultimate losers in the process. He said by failing to reach a common ground with the teachers, the government is impeding on the rights of education for the learners.
They have a bigger stake to play because whatever the case, the state has that, constitutional obligation.
Minister of Education spokesperson Kwagwanji Chimala asked for more time before he could comment on the matter.
You're watching the news on Times Television, TTV, and we now take a break. We'll be back shortly.
Do your gums hurt?
Yeah.
Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile?
All that in one toothpaste?
Yes, try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums.
Ah, Colgate Herbal.
Let's go. Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
Define your surroundings with the color of your choice. Make it warm, creative, friendly, and vibrant. Coat textures, durable color options, with up to 1,200 color shades to choose from. Be it economy range or premium range paints, innovative paint and color technology in every drop. Available in Blantyre, Build Africa, and Limby Corner Mart Building, and in Lilongwe along M12 Road close to Gateway Mall. Tropical Paints, your world in color.
Welcome back. The High Court sitting in Mzuzu has set the 13th of this month as the day for judgment in a case where two families are battling for the Chikulamayembe chieftaincy of Rumbi district. The case went for judicial review after Joseph Bongororo Gondwe, who claims to be the rightful heir to the throne, told the court that the incumbent Mtima Gondwe was unconstitutionally appointed. And we have more in this report by Sam Karimira.
Lawyer for Bongororo Gondwe, Michael Gobachipeta, confirmed receiving communication from the High Court that the judgment will be presented on Tuesday, April 13 this year. Bongororo Gondwe dragged to court President of Republic of Malawi, Minister of Local Government, District Commissioner, and Mtima Gondwe on the appointment of Mtima and his instauration as Paramount Chief Chikulamayembe. The Bongororo Gondwe camp, through their lawyer, argues that the appointment and instauration was procedurally unfair because it also violated the Chiefs Act and provisions in the Malawi Constitution.
What we wanted was a declaration amongst the other reliefs that the instauration and the appointment of Mtima was illegal and invalid because it flouted the Chiefs Act and the provisions of the Constitution. That's what we were looking for. So either the judgment can go either way. It can agree with us or it cannot agree. That's why we are going there on the 13th to hear what the judgment is.
According to Chipeta, Judge Thompson Ligowe is expected to present the judgment from 9 o'clock in the morning at Mzuzu High Court. Mtima Gondwe was crowned the Tumbuka chief on October 23 amidst chaotic scenes which led to the destruction of Chikulamayembe office in Borero in Rumbi. Mtima, the son to the late Chikulamayembe, argues he is the right heir to the throne. On the other hand, Bongororo family says Chikulamayembe chieftaincy rotates within 12 royal families, and this was their turn. Temba Lamatemba Chikulamayembe 12 Wotagondwe died in November 2018, and his son Ntima had been the acting chief before his installation in October 2019.
Cotton farmers in the country have vowed not to sell their produce at the government's set minimum price of 320 kwacha per kilogram until the price has been revised. President of the Cotton Farmers Association, Dickson Gundani, has told Times that the farmers want the price to be set at between 400 kwacha and 450 kwacha per kilogram instead. Matthews Kasanda has the details.
Gundani says selling their cotton at 320 kwacha per kilogram will not meet their production cost and make them realize profits. He says, meanwhile, the association has asked for a meeting with the Minister of Agriculture to revise the price. Gundani has further indicated that there is more cotton that farmers produced during the 2019-2020 growing season that is yet to be sold due to low prices.
So we had to sit there and compromise again, because when they were discussing this issue, after our failure, they were president of the Republic of Malawi.
On Thursday last week, Minister of Agriculture Robin Lowe announced the 2020-2021 agricultural season farm gate prices when he indicated that the minimum price for buying cotton was set at 320 kwacha per kg.
But Ministry of Agriculture spokesperson Grecian Lungu says the 320 kwacha price was arrived at after thorough consultations with relevant stakeholders, including the buyers. In international news, United States President Joe Biden recently announced a $2 trillion spending plan aimed at modernizing the nation's roads and bridges, among other infrastructure. The plan, however, is expected to face obstacles in Congress. VOA's Michelle Quinn reports.
It's time to build our economy from the bottom up.
President Biden's proposed infrastructure plan paints a broad picture of what counts as infrastructure. It's not just for fixing roads and bridges, but for building out broadband internet and technology to mitigate climate change.
In my view, this is a once-in-a-lifetime moment. I don't think in the next 50 years we're going to see another time when we have this combination of a demonstrated need, bipartisan interest, widespread impatience, and a very supportive president who is committed, by the way, not just to the infrastructure itself, but to the jobs we're going to create.
The package's jobs plan includes building the nation's clean energy workforce and boosting caregiving as a profession. Republican leaders say the proposal is too big. The package envisions a network of 500,000 electric car charging stations by 2030.
When people think about infrastructure, they're thinking about roads, bridges, ports, and airports. That's a very small part of what they're calling an infrastructure package.
Paying for the bill is also an issue. The package proposes tax increases on corporations, which Republicans say they oppose. The bill is now being taken up by Congress, with Democratic leaders aiming to get it to the president's desk for his signature in the coming months. The package will be a test of the Democratic Party's unity. If Biden can't get support from any Republicans, he will need every Democrat to vote for it in the evenly divided Senate. Michelle Quinn, VOA News.
That's the news for now, but before we go, the headlines again. Malawi Electoral Commission to start consultations on the review of wards and constituency boundaries. A local organization, Millennium Information and Resource Center, questions the continued existence of Zodiak refugee camp in Doha district. And education activists worried over education standards in the country after only 2 students scooped 6 points in the recently released MSc examination results. You've been with me, Ronald Mpaso, but you can get more on these and other stories by visiting our website www.times.mw. liking our Facebook page Times360 Malawi and following us on Twitter at Times360 Malawi. Remember to wash your hands regularly, observe social and physical distance, and mask up. Stay safe and have a lovely night.